your body mass index or BMI gives you the full picture of your health? Well, then think again. A groundbreaking report from the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology says that BMI might be leading us astray when it comes to diagnosing obesity. Report reveals that BMI, a measure that dates back to 1832, long seen as the gold standard for measuring obesity, can misjudge your health risks. It can in fact, lead you dangerous fat around the organs like the heart, the liver, or the label muscular athletes as obese. But why are we saying this? Let's take you through this in greater depth. Experts say that this flaw is particularly evident in India, where abdominal obesity is rampant, but often flies under the radar due to the BMI's limitations. What are these limitations? Now, experts are calling for a shift. They recommend combining BMI with other tools like waist measurements and direct body fat analysis to get a clearer picture. Now, here's the game changer. Obesity is now being redefined into two categories. What are these two categories? Clinical obesity, where health is clearly impacted and medical intervention is needed. Other one is preclinical obesity, where issues are minimal and counseling or monitoring might just do the trick. This new approach could in fact help catch hidden risks and prevent complications like heart disease before it's too late. It's time to rethink what healthy really means. BMI alone just isn't cutting it anymore. In fact, for more clarity on this very subject, let's cut across to the panel of guests. In fact, joining us firstly is Professor and Dr. Anup Mishra, Executive Chairman, Fortis CDoc Hospital, Diabetes and Allied Sciences, and he himself has authored this very report basing on which we are covering this very subject today. Dr. Mishra, thank you for speaking to us at News9 and welcome. Very firstly, you know, layman's term, for somebody out there watching this show today, how do we differentiate obesity in general and this new concern that's come to the fore, and specifically for Asian Indians, as you've mentioned in your report, of abdominal obesity?
Thank you. First of all, let me just put the things in a little bit clearer perspective. We realized around 2000, year 2000, we and others, that Indians, though they may not have too much of weight, but have higher body fat and higher waist circumference, means their body fat is predominantly located in the abdominal region. And in 2009, as compared to 30 BMI, which you just mentioned, we redefined obesity in Indian population as a BMI of 25. Why lower limit? Because at lower limit, we were developing lots of diabetes, heart disease at a lower body mass index. So that thinking continued till now, but in between there was plenty of other studies done by our group and many others in the world, which clearly shows that BMI is a false indicator. Why? Because it's say take an example of an Indian wrestler, a heavyweight Indian wrestler has a BMI of 35, but his body fat is not much. And by BMI, he will be considered obese. By body fat, he will not be considered obese. So BMI is a false indicator because it includes weight, includes bone, muscle, fat, organ weight, everything together. So the true index of the obesity is body fat. But body fat is difficult to do because it requires apparatus which is expensive, like a DEXA scan or bioimpedance apparatus, which are expensive and not available everywhere. So truly, if we have to define, it has to be body fat. But clinically, if a physician sitting anywhere in this country can define, of course, BMI needs to be taken, but in addition, one more abdominal fat indicator, means waist circumference or waist height ratio, needs to be taken in addition. But this is not all. This definition also includes that obesity related some diseases needs to be taken in account, for example, type 2 diabetes, blood pressure, or fatty liver. And if a person has obesity related the problems in the bones, in the locomotion, उठकर बैठ भी नहीं पाता, चल भी नहीं पाता, and that kind of thing, then also that needs to be taken into account. So in, if you ask me overall, this is a more wholesome definition of obesity, the way it should be, because this is the way we would like to design our therapy. If patient is suffering from abdominal fat, is suffering from disease, if suffering from a problem in the joints, etc., then we will go all out aggressively to treat this obesity, versus a person who just has increased body fat, increased BMI, nothing else, and he's doing his exercises, he's doing his diet. We are going to go ahead with the diet and exercise and do nothing more. So stage 1 obesity is that where there is not much of consequences. Stage 2 obesity in Indian population, where there are consequences that we have to take account for. And similarly, Lancet preclinical obesity and clinical obesity. So very simple bifurcation of two will tell us where we have to intervene, what we have to do. This is a very rational way of thinking.
Right. So, the second question here would be, as you have mentioned in your own report, this is a redefinition of the very concept of obesity. Help us understand this. Why the sudden concern with abdominal obesity? Because you've mentioned that yes, it helps you with your therapies as to how to go about with the diagnosis, for sure. Just put that into greater detail for us, into more perspective for us, as well as why is this a factor mostly in Asian Indians? Why are we saying that?
Very important questions. Uh, this is not sudden. There's nothing sudden about it. We have been thinking about it for almost a decade and collecting more and more data. What we have shown is that this, if you look at the picture on the right side where a tape is being worn around the abdomen, it is the fat just below the skin around this point, which is the most problematic fat. It is called subcutaneous fat, and the subcutaneous fat, and this is what generates inflammation. So that this is the fat which is much more in Indian population than Western population. Similarly, if you take liver fat, for example, inside the abdomen is liver fat. So abdominal obesity is these fat below the skin as well as fat inside the abdomen, which is the liver fat. And so liver also is obese in Indian population. And these two generate a lot of inflammation, lot of other factors which lead to diabetes, blood pressure, high cholesterol, as well as heart disease. So Indian population has much more of all this, but actually you ask me what is the reason for that. I can't tell you definitely is that there is a definite reason. There may be centuries of malnutrition where the body tried to store fat in the abdomen because it is very easy to store fat in a place where there is a space. So inflammation, storage of fat in the abdomen, and that has continued, and now we have more food, that fat becomes much more. This is probably one explanation, but there may be other explanations, genetics and so on, our bad metabolism in multiple accounts. So possibly a number of factors, but there is no doubt that amongst all the populations in the world, it is the Indian population which has the most problematic obesity or in the abdomen, and that's why this obesity definition matters more for Indians than any other ethnic group.
So in this case, like we have a set formula for, measuring BMI, what would you say is one of the most accurate ways for our, people out there, for our viewers, to be able to determine what their abdominal obesity or fat level exactly is?
Again, very interesting and very apt question. And we actually answered this question in 2005, 2006 when I was in All India Institute of Medical Sciences. We redefined the abdominal obesity criteria also for Indian population at that time, while the world over, men 102 centimeters by the tape and 88 centimeters for women was the cutoff. In 2005, 2006, me and Dr. Naval Vikram, my colleague from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, we did a number of studies and redefined, and we said that it should be 90 centimeters for men and 80 centimeters for women in India. Why? Again, the reason is that beyond this, the moment it is beyond 90 or 80 centimeter, the risk for diabetes and various diseases goes high. So we have to keep it below this to be healthy. So this has been there for quite some time. Only thing is, in the obesity definition, we are incorporating the same thing at this point, particular time. But there's one more metric which has come in, which has been now proven to be an important metrics like waist circumference, and it is also related to abdominal obesity. This is waist height ratio. Means if your waist is higher than a certain proportion of height, then there is a problem. So what is that limit? 0.5 means more than half. So your waist
Okay.
circumference is more than half of your height, you are at a problem. So these two metrics have been now taken in addition to BMI in our Indian guidelines. And I think that is a real wholesome way of doing things, and we are much more meaningful in our diagnosis of obesity.
Right. So, in your report, you have categorized two kinds of obesity, stage 1 and stage 2. And it is the stage 2 where we see that people there are more at a higher risk of different diseases. So in that case, for people watching there who may be given these current metrics that in fact you have explained in this report are in the stage 1 of obesity, what would you say would be some of the methods they can incorporate in their daily lives to help them from not being a part of stage 2, so that they don't move on to that stage, and B, also help themselves with the panic that often gets created within your head about being obese? Because now we are learning that obesity is not just one particular disease. There is a spectrum that is there. That is what this report is suggesting. So how do
Absolutely.
they go ahead with navigating with this problem?
Number one, if somebody has a high BMI or high waist circumference, he should approach a physician, because we need to properly profile this patient. So take their blood pressure, do a couple of simple tests to see their blood sugar, their cholesterol, etc. Uh, touch the abdomen to see whether they have liver enlargement and so on, because these are the comorbidities that we need to see to classify the obesity into stage 1 or stage 2. If none of these are present, if the person is entirely normal as far as the blood sugar is concerned, cholesterol is concerned, blood pressure is normal, abdomen is quite clean, um, then this patient and has no mechanical problem. Patient is in the stage 1 obesity without any much of a problem at this point of time. So we tell them, well, at this time you don't have a problem, but in future you may have a problem. In such a case, please apply diet and exercise, and we profile their diets, we profile their exercise, and that you should not gain weight, and best you lose weight. If with the diet, exercise, avoidance of smoking, avoidance of alcohol, etc., if this person despite that increases the weight and his parameters become normal, he jumps into a stage 2 category, where we need to do much more, like application of some drugs, or in high weight category, maybe bariatric surgery.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Mishra, for joining us and throwing light on this report that's been authored by you. Indeed, a lot of insights into how to measure obesity. There are a lot of misconceptions around this very subject that you've cleared out today here at News9. Thank you for joining us so much, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we do not move on from the topic, because now that we've understood what obesity actually is at this given point, or rather redefined the topic of obesity for you, let's also take you through some of the lifestyle changes and some measures that you could implement in your daily lives so that you are not in any of these spectrums that we are speaking of. In fact, joining me right now is Bitopi Ghosh, a diabetic educator. Ms. Ghosh, thank you so much for joining us at this point at News9. And you know, my first question to you would be, today's world, we see a lot of myth around obesity in general. There's a lot of misunderstanding with regards to terms like BMI. There is, again, random trends that come up with regards to diet and gymming. There are different instructors bringing in different kind of recommendations as to how to keep a check on your weight. But your expert advice as to how to deal with this problem, especially with regards to the insights that this report has provided.
First of all, good afternoon, ma'am. I'm the dietitian of the senior dietitian Accord Hospital. Okay. Firstly, sir, ma'am, actually, misconcept that BMI is the best option for the weight loss के लिए जो भी होता है obesity के लिए. जैसे BMI is the worldwide WHO के through ही हम लोग को that is a totally उसको पता चला है. I mean, I know that. Secondly, there is a gym instruction and so many of Google searching and they are saying don't take the carbohydrate, take the loss of the protein part, but that is also the bad things. You cannot take the keto diet, and that is a fashionable diet. So many people have followed the keto diet. That is a misconcept. Keto diet is also for only for the epilepsy patients, and you cannot follow the long time. You just follow the 2 to 3 weeks and just enough. Because of that, our nervous system cannot take the energy for the fatty things. They can take the energy only for the carbohydrate. But what is the carbohydrate? Carbohydrate is everywhere. You can take the fruits, you can take the vegetables, everywhere the carbohydrate present. And that is the basically is that you can take the complex carbohydrate. Don't take the simple carbohydrate. What is the simple carbohydrate? Which is the simple carbohydrate is the glucose, sugar, and jaggery. That is the sweet product is a simple carbohydrate, and you can take the complex carbohydrate. It means a fiber. What is a fiber? That is basically in the soluble fiber. What is soluble fiber? Soluble fiber is the in your vegetables, in your fruits, in your salads, and everything. And that is a very good source for the vegetable person. It is the omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids where they are found it. It is basically the good source for the flaxseed, chia seed, sunflower seeds. And second of thing is that protein part. What is the protein part? You can take it. It is a meat concept. In the gym being person, they are saying you can take the loss of protein. No, that is very bad thing, because you can take the above the 100 grams protein, there's a kidney affected. So you can take only for how it is the BMI, your weight. You have the weight is the 60 grams. That means you can take the only for the 60 gram protein. And that is the animal sources protein is a very good sources of protein. You can take the fish, chicken, eggs, and that is a good. And the vegetarian can be taken the tofu and paneer, soybean, dals, and etc. That is a very good source of protein. And basically, is obesity is a very life-threatening disease. It's not a problem. It is a life-threatening disease, not a disease. It is it is life-threatening. So mainly is the children's.
Okay.
Children's are that is the
it's a bigger threat for children out there, right?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, that have the fatty liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver also. That are obese person. So people are know that why they are not taking the alcohol, but they are in the fatty liver gets that because of the lifestyle and food habit. They can eat a lot of chips, Oreo biscuits. I'm not saying the any companies, the biscuits, and a
In
cream
general, the
biscuit and
fast
anything
food that we
in
consume,
general. Yes, yes,
tend to
yes,
consume, right? You know,
yes.
Dr.
Ah,
Ghosh, I'll ask you one more question here with regards to your
hmm.
recommendations to people who may be, at a threat of becoming obese. What about the lifestyle? Like you were mentioning about the diet as well, that they should keep a check on. Also, the lifestyle. A lot of us we see living a sedentary lifestyle because of our work life, because of whatever engagements we have or in our own lives. What about them? What should they do? What changes should they bring in their lifestyle to help them, evade and avoid this given threat?
That because of there are so many of people are watching the Netflix in the late night. It's at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and they're giving sitting there and they're sleeping in that sleeping mood also the changes. They're sleeping in the 4 o'clock in the morning. So how could they wake up in the morning? How could they get morning in wake up and they cannot do anything in the whole day because they're sleeping in the whole day. After that, they wake up in the 12 o'clock, and that's not possible to walk and exercise. So they are basically the working people, the business people, they're going to the job, and that is a basically is a very life-threatening problem. You can sleep at 10 o'clock in the night, and almost the children can be sleep in the 9 o'clock in the night. So then you can take the good sleep and you can wake up in the next day morning in the fresh, then you could start your in your day in the fresh, and that is the basically then you can go to the workout for a yoga, and that is you can go to the walk and everything you can do any uh, things. You can dance, you can cycling, you can yoga, you can walk, you can swimming, anything, but
Right.
you can do the 45 minutes in the day. It is basically.
Another question, and this might be a little more technical for people who are probably already
Mhm.
suffering from this issue. Um, People with a particular condition of glycemic index within whom it is a little higher. You know, these sugar
Hmm.
spikes that you have oftentimes, studies in fact reveal that oftentimes these hikes and spikes, I beg your pardon, spikes are often seen during the morning. So there is a certain kind of breakfast that is recommended for such people, that you should stick to
Yes.
these food patterns so that you do not go through that spike. What would you say that breakfast
Ha.
should be?
Breakfast is always you can take the soluble fiber, that means the oats, upma, poha, idli. That is the fermented food. It's a very good source for the probiotics and vitamin B12 and the gut bacteria. So that's why you can take the complex and you can take the protein part also. The breakfast you can take the rich per se proper portion. So that means you can't fresh the whole day, that it, and you can take the also the fruits, don't take the fruit juice. And some of the people are saying that I can weight loss, so I can give the glass of the warm lemon water and put in a honey. That is basically the spike up for your glucose level. But you are in early morning, you can take the simple water, otherwise you can take the lemon water, don't use the honey and anything.
Okay, you know, Dr. Ghosh, in fact, this question I'll even personally ask you, because a lot of us have had this question, that while we have fruits, why is juice asked not to be consumed by people who, in fact, have a sugar issue
Yes.
already, who are
That
diabetic?
is
What is the
basically the
difference?
very good. That is a basically good question because you can just take the juice. It is only for the fructose, no
Okay.
fiber. And you can take the whole foods. It means that you can take the whole fiber, and that is the water soluble fiber. And what is the source of the water soluble fiber? That is basically inhibit the glucose level absorption in your body, and your bowel system can be good, and you have that 1 or 2 hours, you don't take the hungriness. You can feel fulfill. That is the basic.
Right. So, you know, people who already have a history of diabetes, be it genetically and they are probably predisposed to it already, but they still don't have it, but their family history has diabetes in it. What would your tips to them be to, you know, be more careful and the measures they should implement in their daily lifestyle as well as diet?
Mhm. I'm sorry, ma'am.
No worries, there is some technical glitch. We'll come back to you, no problems at all. Well, ladies and gentlemen, from what we understand with our conversation with both of these doctors is that there is no need to panic. Again, obesity is a condition that has been there, and of course, it has correlations with several other diseases that are much more, you know, fatal, or for that matter much more serious conditions, if we may call them so. But the main focus of this given story here in our bulletin today is the fact that A, how are we measuring obesity, and B, how do we change our lifestyles, or rather adapt to our lifestyles and bring certain measures within our daily lives so that we are not predisposed to this threat. Well, we have Bitopi Ghosh back with us. Yes, doctor. So, as we were just speaking about history, people with diabetic history, what should they do to keep themselves away from such predisposed threats?
That because of the good question for that. That newly, I think the boys can be, female can be carry the diabetic gene, and that is the basically you are been 30 years or 29 years, 28 years. You should check regularly, you know, blood sugar level and HbA1c, and at the timing you should start work out, control the carbohydrate level. That means that don't take the too much of sugar, don't take the too much of alcohol, fried food, and you can just life changing your lifestyle. You can take the lots of fiber and get cut down the carbohydrate, and that is basically ha ha.
Right.